everybody, it's John, your Indian Cine-MANIAC, with another 10ish-minute review. Getting back on the horse here. Can't wait to do this 10ish-minute review. And the reason why I'm excited about doing this, on the other show, where we each get to pick a movie, my brother Ralph picked Indiana Jones and the Dial of Dysentery. I'm sorry, Destiny. And as you guys all know, I'm a huge Raiders of the Lost Ark is my favorite movie of all time. Number one. Love the movie, love the character Indiana Jones, and I had no intention of watching that money grab with an 80-year-old indie. And needless to say, in fact, the more I think about it, the angrier I am about that movie. So I need a palate cleanser. So I went back to the alternates of our viewer wheel. That's right, the ones that didn't make the wheel. And I am going to watch Rangasthalam, a 2018 Telugu film, which was recommended by many-faced one god 7243, who has given me a couple of recommendations that I've watched. So I want to read for you the pitch that many-faced one god 7243 gave me. Okay, here we go. Are you ready? Here we go. Rangasthalam, a political drama set in village backdrop of 1980s. Every character in this film has their own significance, identity, and individuality. Right from lead actor to the least time-space character, every character has its own identity. It's a mass action political drama touching all emotions of rural lifestyle. Biggest hit of the year. Ram Charan got high praise for his performance in this film. The movie has great music, sometimes too much of BGM. Now, I don't know what that is, BGM. So please, someone let me know in the comment section. And excellent songs. I am sure all of you will enjoy them. So that's his pitch, and it's a pretty good pitch. So I was excited to watch this movie for a couple of reasons. One, it's a Telugu movie. Now, even though we don't get a lot of hits when it's a Telugu movie, they are more grounded than a lot of the Northern Indian movies. And it also was a movie starring Ram Charan, who the first and only time I've ever seen in the movie was RRR, which is the movie that got this whole Indian cinema journey going. So I was excited to see that. So this film was directed by Sukumar. It stars Ram Charan, who I've already talked about, Samantha Ruth Prabhu, who I saw in Super Deluxe and The Family Man. I've only seen 2 episodes of The Family Man, but she was in it. Aadhi, Jagapathi Babu, Prakash Raj, who I saw in Singham, and Ansuya Bharadwaj. I hope I'm saying that right. So first, it's set in the 1980s, right? Rural India. And I found out through research that the village that they have in this film isn't a real village, it's a set. Or it was most of the scene in the village was a set, not an actual village, which I thought was pretty cool. It opens up with a sweeping shot of the lead character, Chitty Babu. Now, I have to tell you something, and I've got to be honest, I'm always upfront with you. Whenever I heard Chitty Babu, I couldn't help but think about Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. So every time I heard his name, Chitty Bang Bang, Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, Chitty Bang Bang, Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. Oh, sorry, I'm going back to my childhood. So Chitty Babu is riding his bike down this long road, then over a bridge. Beautiful shots with this field on either side of the road. It was just really beautiful. And then it leads into this horrific car accident where a car flips. A guy gets thrown out of the car, which they refer to later on. So basically, the premise of the story is this lead character, Chitty Babu, who is a sound engineer. That's what he calls him. He's an engineer of a lot of things, but he refers to himself as a sound engineer. In fact, at the beginning of the film, he actually breaks the fourth wall and looks directly at the camera like he's talking to the audience, which is something, I haven't seen in a lot of movies, but wasn't expecting from this movie, especially Telugu, which are so grounded. You find out that he was bitten by a snake and is now partially deaf. but he doesn't want people to know he's deaf, and he refuses to wear a hearing aid because that announces that he is deaf. And I thought he played that pretty well, for the most part. But he did this thing where he would always get close and point to his ear, and that was a thing over and over again. But his deafness plays a much bigger role later on as the story progresses in a pretty tragic way. Uh, excuse me. Okay, now I will say this also about this movie. There were, to my count, and maybe I missed one, there were 8 musical numbers. Now, right out of the get-go, I will say this movie was too long. It did not need to be this long. Now, before you bite my head off and say, well, these movies are long, this felt long. Okay. There were parts of this movie that felt really long. And I think 8 musical numbers is too much. Although some of them I really, really liked. But I thought it was a little overkill. There was a musical number right after something happened. Um, so the first one is that, by the way, Rangasthalam is the village. That's the name of the village. So the first musical number is Rangasthalam. And that was actually a great number, very colorful. The dancing was great, all that in sync dancing. So then we start to get to know these guys a little bit. And now a second song starts after his love interest is introduced. And she is introduced by, he's looking for the snake that bit him, that made him deaf. And he goes to what I think is a shower, yanks down the wall, and there is Lakshmi, who ends up his love interest, wearing looks like a dress, not a dress, but I don't know what she was wearing, but she was in a shower, or whatever that thing was, fully dressed. But he falls in love. There's another song. So now it's the love story, right? And he is pursuing her, but she doesn't know he's deaf. So he's not catching everything she's saying. And then there's a scene at this carnival where they give him a hard time, some guys, and because he can't hear, they're actually mocking Lakshmi, but he doesn't hear it, so he doesn't say anything. She's offended by that because he's not protecting her honor. Well, then he gets his buddy, his sidekick, to tell him what they said. Now he beats the crap out of him. Now she's looking at him a little differently because now she feels like he's protecting my honor. So it leads into a third musical number where she is wooing him. And I'll tell you, the one thing about these Indian films and women, you can't really tell how nice a body these Indian women have because the clothes that they wear are like, it just covers everything. It's just, well, in this number, so she had this number where her clothes were tight and she had little midriff showing. She's pretty cute. I just got to tell you. So I appreciated that musical number. So he's living with an aunt who keeps throughout the whole movie says, my husband is in Dubai. He's not there. Now I'm going to ask you guys this because I'm not 100% sure and maybe I missed it. Is the person he is living with his mother or his aunt? And the uncle who's in Dubai, is it the father or is it literally an uncle? Because I know everybody calls everybody auntie and uncle, but I wasn't sure about that. So let me know that because it definitely changes some of the stuff at the end if it's his actual parents. So this is really a political story. There's a president of this village who always gets elected with no one else going for the office. Well, they're corrupt, right? So they, you borrow money. They say you didn't pay it back. They take your land over. And it's all corrupt. And the president is evil, So at one point, Chitty gets frustrated, starts beating up, I think, the bald guy who's the treasurer, who gets his just dues later on, too, and beats him up pretty bad. Well, the cops take Chitty into the precinct, and they are wailing on him. They are beating him, and at one point, they take a bottle, and they're just keep hitting him in the face. He gets bailed out, and so now there's the political corruption, right? His brother, who was in Dubai, comes back to the village, sees the corruption, and now wants to run for the presidency. And as the movie goes on, you realize that anyone who's ever tried to run for the president against this guy ends up dying mysteriously, which you find out in flashbacks. It's not so mysterious. So now there's a fourth song in support of the brothers' nomination. So that was interesting, right? So at the beginning of the film, he's looking for the snake. He finds a watch buried in the ground. He wants to give it to his aunt or mother. The mother gives it back to him, says, "You wear it, looks better on you," which we'll come back to later on. Now there's a fifth number called Dazzle Queen. She did one thing that kind of annoyed me in this movie. Um, Prior to their love story, she kept doing this. That's like an Elvis, Elvis Presley thing, but she kept doing that. And it was in acting we call that mugging, and that definitely was mugging. Now I did like her, don't get me wrong, and I liked her much better in the second half. Um, so now the brother's going to run for the presidency, and they're worried he's going to mysteriously die. Well, sure enough, there's a scene, and it is an amazing scene. It's at night. He's riding his little Vespa, whatever it is, through this field that you see at the beginning. It's not a wheat field, but that's kind of what it looks like at night. And he gets stopped. And now he runs into the field, and all you see are flashlights. Like, I don't know, like 20 of them going after him. You don't see who it is yet. All you see are the lights. And then finally he gets surrounded. And they've all got these, these blades that are curved. I don't know what the name of them are, and they're going after him. Well, then Chitty shows up, and that's the action scenes are great. I mean, it's no mercy. He's smashing heads on rocks, just fantastic. And it's great because they're using his deafness because he can't hear it, and he keeps calling out for the brother, and he ends up stepping on a flashlight, and that's when he sees everything. So now the brother's all bloodied up, and he brings him to this, I don't know what it was, a restaurant or a little shack or something. And he goes, "You're going to be okay. You're going to be okay. I'm going to get you some turmeric." I don't know what turmeric is, but they talk about that a lot in this movie. And apparently it heals just about anything because, well, anyway, so when he comes back to the table, the brother is dying. Someone slashed his throat. And as he's dying, he says something, but because Chitty's deaf, he can't hear it. And that scene is just, he's so frustrated. He keeps hitting his head because he can't hear what is he saying, what is he saying, which comes back later on. So now he's on the warpath. And a scene right out of the movie Tombstone with Kurt Russell. He's got like five guys, and it's just this montage of him going after the president. He's gonna kill the president, but they never find him. So now the president's out. The aunt becomes the president. Now, before that, you find out. You know what? I'm just telling the story. This is probably not the best way to review this, but you find out that her husband was not in Dubai. He was also running for president, and he was killed. And they show that in a flashback, and it's pretty gruesome when they show that. And when she tells that story to Chitty, it's a pretty powerful scene. And the watch that he found was his father's watch or the uncle's watch, whichever he ends up being. So that's why the aunt wanted him to have it. Well, she ends up becoming president. So here's a seventh song celebrating her presidency. Now they refer back to the car accident at the beginning of the film, where the guy who was in the accident was someone that was pushing for the brother to become president, and and bailed out Chitty when he was with the police. So he's in the hospital, and they say he's going to die, but Chitty, through sheer will, wills him to live. And now it jumps ahead 2 years. Now here's an eighth song celebrating his good health because now he's going to be minister, this wonderful guy. And this for me, because I did feel like the movie was too long. I loved Chitty as a character. I loved his performance. I loved most of the numbers, not all of them. But I thought it was way too long, and it was much better the last third of the movie. But here's the part that won it for me: the twist ending. And if you haven't seen this movie, this will be a big spoiler. So if you don't want to know it, shut it off now and go watch the movie, then come back. But he wants to meet the minister whose life he saved. And it's a pretty great scene. And they're taught, it's mutual. What can I do for you? Anything you want me to do for you. You saved my life. I owe you everything. And slowly he starts to explain that he knows it was this guy that had the brother killed. And they show how he figured it out. I won't get into that. But that was great. And then he pulls out one of those curved blades and just holds it to his neck. He goes, I want you to feel the way I felt when my brother died in my arms. And the look of, the guy is terrified. And sure enough, kills him. And it was great. And then he walks out, he hands the bag to his now wife, Lakshmi. And that's actually how the film ended. So he got revenge for his brother's death. And that I loved. I did not see that coming. It was a surprise because this guy was on board with them the whole movie. Oh, I'm sorry. I did skip one major thing. You find out, in fact, part of that scene, the climax, he admits he found the president and he killed the president rather graphically. And you were like sitting there going, yeah, when they showed the scene, yeah, good. He deserves it. He deserves to die. And by the way, that president killed his right-hand man, the bald guy, pretty brutally too, earlier. So you were kind of glad he was dead. But yeah. So overall, I'm going to give this, I was going to give it 3 Ladus. I'm going to give it 4, only because um, I thought Ram Charan's performance, it was so different from RRR, and I really liked him. And it was yeah, I just really liked his characterization and the deafness thing, which at first you think, well, it's kind of stupid the way he's playing it, but it comes back and it really plays a big role towards the end of the movie, which I really did like. I thought it was too long. There's no way it needed 8 musical numbers, okay? And again, I didn't like all of them, but I liked a lot of them. But I'm going to give this 4 Ladus because the ending for me is what really sealed it for me. I thought it was great because I did not see it coming, and I'm usually pretty good at that. Okay, so that's my review on that film. So thank you for that. Many-faced, one God. 77. Okay, the next film I'm gonna review is I just reviewed Leo. And sounds like a lot of you like that movie. Well, when I was doing research on it, I found out there was another movie that came out that was similar called Jailer. And I decided I'm gonna watch this film because one of the people in it, and this is what it says. It says superstar Rajan, who I think I've seen in one movie, R1. So I want to see, if you're going to give this guy a credit of superstar, got to be something pretty special. So that's the next film I'm going to watch. It came out in 2023, Jailer. So please check that out. And as always, I appreciate you guys watching, and don't be afraid to subscribe, hit the notification button, smash that like button, and share it if you think people will like this. If you are an Indiana Jones fan, please stay away from the dial of destiny. Do not waste your time. You want to watch a good film? Go rewatch Raiders of the Lost Ark, okay? Even The Crystal Skull, which I thought was horrible, was better than this film. So don't waste your time. The more I think about it, the angrier I get. All right, that's it. I want to end on a high note. So again, thanks for watching, everybody, and we'll see you soon with the next